Greetings, folks. Welcome back to the Jason Damico show. It is great to be back. We've had a couple of weeks off with just some projects and some house cleaning over here. We've actually had the studio back available with folks coming in and doing in-person interviews once again. Even with the COVID situation going on, we're able to do that thanks to the difference in CDC guidelines. And very special guest is always on the show. Our guest is an award-winning fine artist, entrepreneur, host, and music marketing guru with a background in architectural drawing. She's the host of multiple podcasts and that focus on merging between entrepreneurship and artistry. You can find her on AVA Live Radio as well as many other social media platforms where she is firmly established. Please welcome to the show, I'd say the Miss Jack of all trades and master of all, Miss Jacqueline Jax.
Wow. Okay. Like, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by it.
You're impressed.
Until I hear it from you, I just don't realize what I'm up to. Thank you very much for reminding me.
Well, I had to make an executive decision because when Jamie sent me the bio,
yeah,
it was like this long. So
yeah,
I
know.
I just wrote it myself.
I love it. That's awesome. Send me a copy. I need an update.
Well, it's great to this has been what, 3 months in the
I know. It has been, I can't tell you, when COVID first started, I thought, well, maybe I'll get some time off. I can relax, just do some art. I'm up here in Canada. What could happen, And then, my gosh, the artists, the music, they overproduced music. And I got so incredibly busy. I think 2 months after, I got basically enough time to finish my schedule. And then, just as I thought I was going to get to relax, bam, everything just blew up in my face. And as you know, I really wanted to come on your show earlier. And I thank you so much for having me here and inviting me. It's such a great honor, but man, I couldn't breathe. So thank you for being patient.
Thanks for taking the time to be on. You've got quite the platform. You've got quite the following of fans of all ages, all lucky. Demographics, a lot of cool stuff. And I honestly, when I was doing research on you today, and we've had a lot of world-class talent on this show, but it was just like, man, I don't even know where to start with this one. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, I always start these with beginning stages, but you have so many different aspects of your career. We'll focus on your
family.
Art.
I think family, because everyone in my family is an artist. And I think that if I could offer anyone advice out there, it's to make sure that you develop talent when you have children. Because if you can focus on developing talent, it not only keeps them out of trouble, but it gives them, like we were saying before we got into the interview, it gives you a focus to get through troubled times. It gives you the power and the ability to know yourself better. And therefore, you can pretty much get through anything, Yeah. So I think really family is so important. And without my family being so creative, I don't think that I would have had, to the ability to do so much and to meet so many great people and, to be able to thrive in so many different situations. But to me, I think it's all creative. So, it's just creative.
While we're on the family stem stem Bill Evans. So
yeah, that's wonderful.
Your uncle, or what was your uncle?
Yes, he is deceased. He's such an amazing artist. He's a musician. For those of you who aren't really into jazz, he was just so super talented. He influenced movements of music, Now, and
did he play on Davis's Kind of Blue?
I think so. Yeah, because he worked with Miles Davis. He played with, right? He also produced for Tony Bennett, so they did an album together. It's just, he has centuries in the music business. And for him, it's just like, it was just waking up and doing his art. He was very, very focused, very into just his instruments and the music. So incredibly concentrated, you know? But of course, he was around in his prime way before I was born. So my mom has the best stories. I mean, literally the best stories of just he and my mom and my dad just hanging out in these, like, you know, just back alley jazz clubs years and years ago when things were just like, you know, total back alley, and people that are so famously known at that time were like all of his friends. So if you read his history, and I linked it up on my bio at JacquelineJax.com, you'll see that like the people that were his friends that were creating music, like they were just novices developing their skills, were like the most incredible saxophone players, drummers, singers, just so many amazing people, you know, that even led him to later in life being able to produce with Tony Bennett and people like that. So just great talent, you know, just great talent.
What started first for you? Was it more of the music or the fine art?
You know, I think in the beginning it was art, because the fine art, my Uncle Lee is a famous fine artist in the Philippines, and he actually passed as well. But that kind of ran through that side of my family. And then my mom was an illustrator and a fashion designer.
Wow.
And she worked, she practically designed like all of Caesar's palace, all the goddess uniforms. She was the one that designed those goddess uniforms. So if you look back to probably, I would say the 80s, or maybe even, yeah, I would say around the 80s, she was the designer that originated those goddess uniforms. And they're nothing like they are, you know, now, but they used to have these great big events and things that she used to do, like the Caesar's World events were like with the toga parties and all kinds of things. And she designed and put together all of those shows and all of those incredible designs. So she used to illustrate. And when I was younger, I used to crawl into bed with her, and she'd sit there and she'd be illustrating. And then she would get up and I would take her illustration and I would draw all over it. And she was, oh my God, she'd have to start all over. But she was always patient, and she always got me my own art supplies from that point on, you know? So it was kind of just, it developed like that. That's how I started.
So your style, you would say, is modernism for the most part?
Yeah,
or
I think so. It's abstract.
Abstract.
Yeah. I like straight. You know, when I went to college, I went to art school, and I was studying at that time under an instructor named Bari, and another one that was Peter Primack. And he was, at the time, the best at architectural renderings, you know, so he was doing it for everyone, but that was who taught me. So I kind of went that route for a lot of years. Like I was doing architectural renderings. Wow. So they were so precise and so like controlled, you know, and you're talking about 60, 80 hours of very, very detailed fine line work. So you learn about pens, you learn about inks, you learn about luminas and watercolors and stuff, but you're never allowed to just let things flow. So I think when I was winning the Bari Award and things like that, I was doing very controlled, very large scale drawings and selling them as a professional artist because they were on commission. But when I went back and I actually got to just do things myself, I found myself gravitating to more abstract things that just, I could just use my imagination. They weren't really planned. You know, I didn't have to like be restrained all the time.
Right.
And that's where I am today. I think that this art that I'm doing right now, it just represents this ability just to relax and just let the paint just move within the brush and my hands, and just to be part of the process in a way that doesn't require me to think as much as I'm used to thinking all day long for work and all through my training, you know? So you see a lot of like more abstract shapes, you know, like the as I was showing you before, this is from the Rock Candy series. It's not meant it's great if you recognize who it is, right? But I don't really want people to be like, oh, that's this person, even though it's nice to have it look like the person, but I try to get away from it as much as possible. I try to let just like the watercolor do the thing and just let it flow like you've seen, right?
Yeah.
But this is probably as realistic as I'm going to get, because I just don't really want to follow all the rules all the time anymore. You know, I'm just in that space. Then just recently I started doing the this series, and this is a lot more abstract. So this is actually a cityscape. And if you, like we talked about it before, if you watch the video, then you see me adding water and color and just letting the page just turn and just drain all over. And that's where you start to learn about reflection. You start to see things in a different way, because what wasn't there all of a sudden becomes there. And literally you turn it over and it's there again in another way.
Yeah. Wow.
You see? So if you look long enough at it, you realize that what you first see is not necessarily what you will only see. And that's what I really like about this.
What's the name of the psychological visual where I can't remember it was in maybe like 7 Habits of Highly Effective people. One of those books that I've read, like just kind of like on my off time in the last year. It might have been Dale Carnegie.
Yes, yeah.
It might have been Dale. I think it was Dale Carnegie with How to Win Friends
and Influence People. Yeah,
yeah.
Great
it was
book.
One of those books, but
great book.
Whoever I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but they have a reference where he has a picture of a rabbit head, but it's also a duck. Or it's like the body of a rabbit and a duck, and it's like, you know, who sees what, and what are we looking at here? It was like an old woman and a young woman, like an old woman's face and a young woman's contour, and it's like, what do you see? They had a couple of those, and I see the parallelism of that. It's like, and that I think there's an overlap in life in general, you know, when working with people, especially in this industry. People are just going to see things differently, and being just being aware, being self-aware, and also for yourself to just take a look, be a little anti-dogmatic, and just kind of do a little head shift or a little soul shift internally, and just see what's going on. You know, see if you can see the perspective differently. If you don't like it, well, if it's not going to change, maybe you have to change to see.
So true.
You know.
Yeah. Well, you do. I always think that you can't really have regrets in life, because if you have regrets, then you're beating yourself up for something that you thought you made the best decision on at the time with the information you had. Our vision is much like that. Our vision comes from whatever information we're having at the time, whatever we're exposed to at the time. That's a lot of what we're going to see, and a lot of what's going to be most relatable to you, you know? I mean, for instance, if you are feeling really sad, if you're very heartbroken over something, you're going to kind of look at things more from, you know, that perspective of feeling so soulful about it. Maybe you'll be a little more empathetic to other people than if you are, honestly, if you're happy, if you're really happy and you're just like, everything's going great and you're just like gung-ho and you're in that, like that zone where just you're focused, you're not as empathetic. Let's face it, you know, unless you're going through something that's emotional, you're not really going to be in that emotional state. And I think that happens a lot when people look at visual things. Is whatever it is that they're doing at that time or whatever is going on with them at that time, you have to respect that, you know, and let them just have it. Have that.
Picasso went through the blue phase, right? Or whoever. Yeah. I'm so bad when it comes. I need to really. I went to art museums. Like I did my fair share, but it's probably the one art form that I'm not as well versed in, and I'm learning things here. This is a great.
It's a lifetime. No, I totally get it. Listen, I when I was in art school, they tried to make me study all the impressionist painters and all of the abstract painters. And at the time I was like, that's interesting, but I didn't really get it because I wasn't as involved. Even though I did art from a young age, you don't really get it, I think, until you've just experienced life a lot more. Yeah. You know, as you experience life a lot more and a lot of crazy bad stuff happens, all of a sudden you start to get, oh, I get that now. But until then, no, you don't. It's really hard to understand. And that's okay that you don't. You know what I mean? You just can't.
It's a process.
Sure is.
Speaking of process, I didn't have this right. I didn't write this down, but I usually bring this up. I'm not sure why I didn't write this down. But your creative process for you, what does that look like usually? Has it changed over the years? What is it? Is it more of a routine or kind of
it has changed. Well, for the fine arts, it definitely has changed because now I use it more of a meditation after work. So so I'm so focused in work. It's such a tough business. Music industry is a very, very fast paced, it can be a very cold and hard business. Although I'm really lucky that I started 13 years ago. So the people that I know, I've developed good relationships with. So my day's not like, a negative energy type of zone. It's just a fast zone, trying to get a lot of things done really quickly. Right. So at the end of the day, I literally have a choice. It's either stop at 6 or 8 or keep going. And literally you could go until the next morning because there's that much to do. You leave your email, there's 200 more coming in, so it's insane. I mean, like I'm looking at my email box on my computer right now. It's got 2,400 and something emails in there. And I'm not going to get to all those emails. So like it becomes a form of like, the art has to be the decompression phase. It's got to be the part of the day where the movie isn't going to do it. So let's sit down and really draw your focus into something that feels creative. And as a result, you get more energy and the ability to focus on your work for smaller amounts of time and accomplish way more. You know what I mean? Right. So I think every human has to have that. I really do. I think you have to either have exercise, you have to have meditation, you have to have that break. Because if you don't truly get to the right break, you're not going to feel refreshed when you get back to work. And then you have fatigue, burnout, and your whole life goes up in smoke. You're not going to be like part of the 1% that actually has success, and you do have to have that balance.
Oh, I was literally, you took the word right out of my mouth, balance.
Yeah.
Balance.
So that's my process. Really, it's meditative. So whether I'm going to grab a pencil and start sketching something, or I'm going to grab some paint and just start like developing these landscapes, that was really just a vision. It was like, let's see what the paint is going to do today. And then I said, you know what, this looks like a city. Let me pull a city picture up. I happened to pull a picture of Detroit up and bam, I started seeing the shapes in there, And like I said, it's free form so that you can relax. I'm not making my mind lock down on anything and say, this building has to be here and it has to look like this. And it's got to be this perspective and this color,
That's good.
So that's the process now. It's just let it flow.
What's your opinion on perhaps, and you could, I guess, pro and con this or compare and contrast the music industry compared to fine art. And then we'll obviously merge the conversation into marketing and entrepreneurship and publicity, where your wheelhouse is like you've got some guru status with this stuff. So we'll get into that. But I was just curious, you live in both worlds. What are your thoughts?
I think they're identical as far as marketing. When an artist is an artist, they go through different stages of development. So whether you're making music, or you're creating any kind of art, or you're writing a journal, whatever it is that you're doing that's creative, you're going to go through different stages. And if you are very, very diligent at demonstrating and walking people through, allowing people in behind that door, right, into a little bit of the privacy space. It doesn't have to be through live streams. It doesn't have to be like really in the face where you're explaining everything. You could just do it through pictures or whatever. But if you are good and consistent about creating that kind of content and allowing people to go on a journey with you, marketing becomes so easy because you literally have done the work of telling the story when you're in the moment. So I think that there really is no difference, whatever artistic thing that you love to do is, you're always going to be on a journey, and there's no better time than at the beginning of any journey to start mapping them out. I love YouTube for that, honestly, and a lot of people don't see it. They wait until they can get perfect YouTube videos, but how awesome is it to have this documented in this moment, you know?
Yeah, you got to document.
I mean, my journal every morning, I'm sketching in my journal, I'm writing in my journal, I'm putting my thoughts down, and now I have those pages to be able to share with my art patrons. So like a musician, they literally could do a podcast to get down some thoughts and talk to the audience just like they're talking to themselves. Or you could do video on YouTube and develop that channel. It's not it's not for vanity numbers to worry about who's listening now. It's more of to have the content for when you get to the point where you're really that good that people do start paying attention and listening. Then some people will have walked the walk with you along the way and cheered and rooted you on, and those now become your super fans. So in that way, you have to let people in at some point. And the more you don't, the least likely you are to be noticed. And the more likely you are to need someone like me when you finally get a product, because literally they have nothing. They just don't have the documentation. And so, you know, what I spend the majority of my time doing is creating the story, creating all the documentation of what they should have already had and trying to make that into something and, you know, make it notable, make it newsworthy, and then, you know, build that song, that great song up to something else. So when it comes to art, for all the artists out there, there is no difference as far as marketing. It's the same. It's the same journey. You just have to learn to express it a little bit better and not be embarrassed about the bad. You can't be afraid to be human, you know? And I think a lot of people are really afraid to be human because of the critics out there. But honestly, the critics, they don't matter at all. And nobody is listening that closely. People are only listening when, like, you have really made that 1 million follower mark. And at that point, look, you know you're good. So what do you care if somebody doesn't like it or doesn't get it? It doesn't matter.
When did you discover within yourself that you had this innate natural ability for marketing and working with artist development?
Well, when I was younger, my mom wanted me to learn to sing and she wanted me to play the piano as well as all the other stuff that I was already into. I was kind of resistant to it, honestly, because I really liked what I was doing with the artwork, but I went along with it and I learned piano. I did a recital. I gave it all a try and I loved it. It was fun. It was really interesting, totally different, very frustrating. I can say that. But I think it just, even though I think I'm an okay singer, I like my voice and I like to record songs, it just wasn't the thing that I dreamed about. So in that process of learning, I was able to get an access to like all the best teachers and the best people in the industry. And I even had people, they were bringing people to me that wanted to represent me, wanted to put me on tour, the whole thing. But they were really, really just negative personality to myself. Like I was very free. I don't like to be, you know, I just kind of like to do my thing and just have like this very free kind of atmosphere around. And music, the business of music at the time, there was no YouTube. So the business of music at the time was get a manager and you do what they say. Right. You do exactly what they say. You sing what they want you to sing. You do that. And you are basically run around for crazy and signed to these insane deals. Coming from where I came from and the artistic, you know, ability of freedom and having that freedom, that just didn't work for me. So I realized then that the education I was getting was that it is really tough to be a musician. probably tougher to be a musician than it is to be an artist, or a fine artist, because music, there's always going to be someone that has the key to the door. Always. In art, you don't necessarily need a key to the door because you are more in touch with the end user. You're selling directly to the people who love your artwork. Music, in order for you to go like large scale and make money, you have to make a choice. And most people in music, they want to be famous. Most people in music don't want to work for the movie industry and make money. They want to be famous. So if you want to be famous, there's someone holding the key to the door. That's why I got into this business, because in the beginning, when I got the ability to be the director of artist development for the American Vocal Academy, it was to work with artists and be like kind of a liaison in between them in the studio. I was doing all kinds of things, voice correction and just helping develop music and helping them kind of get a start, right, for record labels. And I knew I came from a situation where I was like, my heart broke for people. I knew how bad they wanted it, but there was no YouTube, there was no social media. And literally, I was a young person in this industry, not knowing that it wasn't for me to tour. It wasn't something that I craved, but man, I had the empathy. I really did. So it made sense. It just made sense. And as I got more opportunities to help people, I just kept helping. You know, it literally is that. It all comes down to, as long as I'm useful, I'll stay where I am. But if I become unuseful or people no longer need my help, then I will just completely do my own art. So here I am, 13 years, still doing it, you know, still helping people, you know, get those 100,000 plays. And, you know, before it was YouTube, now it's Spotify. And, you know, yesterday it was one social media page. It was MySpace at one time, and now it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is, you know. But it's just the same story. It's just the artist. They're making the creations. They're getting better as they go. They need a safe place to be able to do that. And I try to create a very safe environment. I mean, if you're creative, you guys know, you don't want to hear those negative reviews because you've just put your heart and soul out there. And in small scale, you can't take one negative review because literally it's heartbreaking, because you're not getting enough positive at that time, you know? So that's the hardest part, I think. You can't turn it off. It just sticks in your head like, are they right or are they wrong? And I need somebody to tell me the difference. And I think that that's probably a lot of where I'm of value to people, is I just kind of am there like, okay, I can get you to some decent people who will give you really good advice, and we can see how this song does, and we can feel the good stuff and pull out all the good from it and make sure that you are in an environment where you can thrive instead of one that will knock you down. Because I think that artists don't need to be exposed to all the cruelties in the world. There's enough, you know, there's just enough of it. You'll get it anyway. So why not, you know, just try and wipe as much of that atmosphere out. So I'm kind of like that person in between it, you know? Right.
Well, you've got a couple of really great, probably more than a couple, but from what I saw, AVA Live Radio and Impact is another auxiliary podcast that you have. But just dive into that for a couple of minutes and talk about what you've got going on those platforms.
Sure, yeah. AVA Live Radio focuses on indie music. So the whole idea behind it is to take a piece of music from an artist and give them exposure. So we basically do a feature story on them, much like you're doing here, right? And sometimes an interview, sometimes it's just play and basically me getting them in front of people. But in behind the scenes, what you don't see is the people that we're getting the music to. And I think that's where it's really helpful. That's where you're seeing a lot of the plays. So we'll put them out on the newsletter. We mess around with the playlist. Like, in other words, we take a playlist and we say, all right, here's a bunch of radio stations that we know we talk to all the time. And, you know, you're going to be getting a mailer from me as well. Yes, you. So, like, you know, and I basically just take the artists that I know are ready for certain things. And I say, okay, this is a song that needs to be in a film. So let's go and send them over here and try if we can. and get somebody in the film industry listening to this music because it's really that good, right? It's great. Or this is an artist who definitely would be perfect for this festival coming up, or these radio stations might be interested, or these music blogs might be interested. But it's basically, at the end of the day, just trying to get the right exposure for the artists. So that's what AVA Live Radio does. It's not just a radio station. It's basically a publicity forum. It's a community and a way for indie artists to really have a chance, at least getting some good feedback, some good exposure, and start getting those plays. You know, you never know what can happen if you could just get like that 100,000 on there. You get all kinds of opportunities from that.
What, are you a firm believer in that's kind of the end all be all in this day and age? Or are you still somewhat subscribed to the old school methodology of, like we were saying earlier, somebody's got the key, you just got to get in, get through the gatekeeper? Obviously having numbers helps to a certain degree, but while we're on this topic, I think it's a great topic. I think it's controversial in ways that are great for discussion. Your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. No, I totally agree with you. Most artists that I talk to, they're still sold into the old way of doing things, where they basically think that they have to get a record label in order to move forward. And as a result, there are a lot of crazy people out there on the internet that say, hey, we want you to be part of our record label. Just give us $5,000 because we need to know you're invested. And then it goes on from there. There's no meeting. There's no nothing. It's just this exchange of money for nothing, just to say, I got signed with a record label. That's the gatekeeper we don't want to get signed up to, because, man, then nothing's going to happen. Nothing good is going to come of that. It's going to be the worst experience of your life, and you might even give up music. So no, you don't need it. You absolutely don't need a record label. And I think if you look back to people like MC Hammer and some of the people out there that have launched music, they got dropped by their label when their big songs took off. And then everybody was chasing them after that for distribution. So the difference between an artist being like really taking off and having fame and someone who is making a living in music is, one, the dream of the artist, and two, exactly what you're doing it for. What's the purpose, Yeah. I find a lot of people, their success in the beginning was to be famous and win a Grammy. But what it ended up being was they have clearly gotten 100,000 people, and of that 100,000 people, they are making $100,000 a year or more selling directly to the fans. Without a label, without anybody taking a piece. They are paying to do their music. They are building their own studios. They are paying videographers. They're teaming up with really good talent and like just being an artist. They're living the artist dream. And as a result, their patrons are paying for it. And they're doing it through t-shirts, through packages, through $100 packs that they sell out in Christmas time that pays for the whole year. They're doing it through, okay, I'll make you a music video every month. You can help finance it. You want us to put out more music? Then here's a Patreon page. They're doing it in a lot of different ways. Even live streaming for tips on PayPal is working. So what that picture actually looks like for different artists has become so different. And if we had that years ago, the labels and the radio stations would have never had the keys to the kingdom. Because in essence, that's what you're seeing is the breakdown of that right now. I know a lot of artists are like, but you can't make any money in music, but they don't realize you never made any money in music. You made money, but it didn't come to the artist, It went through all of the distribution, all the different people took the piece, and then you were lucky if you got somebody to advance you the money on the next one, but you never really made a lot of money. What you did was you built a name and a brand, and you could capitalize on that. And sometimes you got above water on things, I mean, even today, if you look at what they're doing, like for instance, people like Rihanna, she'll release an album. She's got a lot of core fans, a lot of people that really love her and will buy her music, but they don't necessarily buy the music. They listen to the music millions and millions of times, which generates a revenue. But to get on the chart, she has deals placed with like cell phone companies. They buy a ton of music and give it away to people that own the cell phones. And as a result, it charts those sales. And they're kind of getting away from allowing that to happen, but it's still pretty much happening, you know? So it's not that she's not making the sales. It's not that she's not getting the charts because she's got the numbers. However, they are able to manipulate the system. And so in a way, you still got a gatekeeper there. However, the picture is different. So if indie artists start looking at this like, I don't necessarily want to beat myself up to be in the never-ending, you know, Rihanna phase where I can't keep going. I'm exhausted and I'm just drained and I'm not, you know, making my own music. I'm not writing anything because I just can't keep the pace. If that's not your dream, you could be a great creative artist and just be an amazing, powerful soul that creates on your own time, makes the music that you want to make, and you can make a great living at it, you know, just by building your own brand today. I think that's the smarter road. And if I were pursuing it, that's what I would be doing.
It's great. It's great. So well said. And I think, I'll just use myself as an example. I think that was always kind of my direction that I wanted to go in. Of course, you have personal goals that you want to accomplish and you have things that you want to do.
For sure.
But I've just noticed a pattern in my own life. It's like, well, I never wanted to settle with the craft. I never wanted to feel like I was selling out, so to speak. But after reading Gene Simmons' book, I have a different theory on selling out because the way he puts it is actually pretty clever.
What does he say? Do you remember what he said?
He's like, yeah, oh yeah, sell out. Damn right I sold out. I sell out every night. It's like, dude is such a boss.
I would never, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not for everybody. Some people love that, but I feel like that is kind of an artist's nightmare once there, right? Because like you get to the stage where people want to hear the same songs all the time, but do you really want to play the same songs over and over again and not really have time to create your own, you know, to create something new and always be playing something new? That hamster wheel to me is a lack of freedom. And artists can have so much of a bigger picture, you know, that doesn't require 100 people that they have to keep track of that work for them. They're all taking the money, you know, like literally it's like, it's just a lot. It's a lot to handle.
Well, I think, you know, going back to the branding, because you said that a little bit earlier, I think that's really where the money is. I mean, for lack of a better term, I mean, that's really where the monetization lies, because people are
it's tremendous.
Buying into the brand. And it's like the thing that I've realized in the last year or two with my own career is that it's not, I mean, yeah, it's about the content, but people just like, they buy into the full package. It's not just, oh, this song, like the song can lead to you becoming a super fan of an artist, but it's the thing.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Not that it's an enigma.
No.
Some people are, what you see is what you get, but there's this like thing to it, and it's this full package. So I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe you do.
I do. I know exactly what you're saying. People like to do business with people. People love to fall in love with people. They're curious about them. And if you're a creative person, to someone who's not creative, you're a mystery. To someone who is creative, you're an inspiration. So you basically have been given a talent, whatever that is, because you're there in essence to be a muse, to inspire people just by doing you. And if you're brave enough to do you're usually, creative people they're brave enough to be themselves, to put it out there. And the minute they start doing that, they get attention for it. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's still going to be attention, right? You're going to get the trolls. You're going to take the good with the bad. We always do. But you're there to inspire people. You're given a gift, whether it's to make people laugh or to make people read or to make people learn or listen or look or see things in a different way. And I think really the brand now becomes, it kind of goes under the one umbrella, right? This is the person is the brand. And all what we encompass as being the brand is the colors and the visual and the audible and who that person is. Their personality goes into it. Are they real? Are they not real? What do we come to know? What do people say about you and know about you when you're not in the room? All of that becomes the brand. So that is up to you. That's all on you. That's all that's the pieces, the breadcrumbs you put out there. So now you got to look at everything you put out and you say, all right, I'm not going to be held back because I'm afraid of what people will see. But what is it that is really truly me and in my soul to do and to be on this journey about? What is it? What is the message? What is it that I really care about and that I think might help somebody? What might serve anybody who is exposed to me? What is the service that I'm going to provide? Because it's in that service that you really inspire growth in people and you really inspire anything in people. And that's what they follow. People, we all really, in a way we're self-centered, right? Because you only have empathy if you're sad. If you're happy and things are going good, it's, you hopefully have been through enough in life where you're able to relate to people, but I'm not going to say it's wrong that you can't, because some people just can't, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, if you're creative and you're given a gift, you are there to serve someone with that gift, as well as serve yourself.
We had a friend of ours on, and she's at Peabody for organ and for vocals. I think she actually just graduated this year. Marie, hilarious. She's great. Really, really great player and artist.
Oh, I have to watch the episode. I watched some of your episodes.
I'll send you a link.
All right, good.
She literally said the exact same thing that you said, which is, and I've never heard this before. The fact that she said it, now I'm hearing it again, but you're the second person that I've heard this from, which is, as an artist, she considers herself a public servant.
Mm-hmm. You are.
And I was like, wow, that's deep. That's a whole other level.
You are. Yeah. Well, you're serving yourself too. I mean, primarily you're serving yourself, because if you're not inspired, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
100%.
But I feel like, if you want to share your art, I mean, there are people that aren't serving, right? They're not putting this out on social media. I'm assuming that they're putting it out on social media. So if you're wondering if people are seeing you the way you want to be seen, then I think that if the question is, how do I get people to pay attention to my art, which is usually the question that I get posed, the answer is, how are you serving the audience that might like what you have to offer? And you don't have to be serving them with any specific level of creation. So your journey is always going to be better. You're always at the moment thinking, this is great. I love this, right? But from when you reach a certain age, you'll realize that this is not great. This is great for now. What you will become is so much more powerful. You just have to keep going, and you have to believe in the process. And if people get on board with you, they're going to believe in the process too, because you're going to show them that you're brave. You don't have any blocks or things, that are blocking the emotions from being expressed, and that's where you need to get to. But that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. That's like a dig deep. Let's figure out, why on earth I can't accomplish anything because I'm just sabotaging myself. That's a whole nother thing. Self-sabotage it's real. Totally real.
I think it's also, it's just a timing thing. Like there's certain things that I wasn't even aware of until you get to a point where you can look back and just re-examine and
Yeah.
You can just be punching against a wall for all eternity, and nothing will happen. And then as soon as you stop punching the wall, the door opens. It's really there.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. It's a whole other episode, because that dynamic. Speaking of, I think you talked a little bit about meditation earlier. I don't know if it was on air or before we were on air. But it's so crucial. So crucial. I've been doing a lot of it lately, and I've just noticed differences, especially with like a routine for the last couple of months. It's really interesting when you audit your thoughts, when you really take the time to sit there and see, okay, is this really bothering me? Why is this bothering me? Does this have to bother me?
Good luck, right?
Right. I mean, well, why am I carrying this baggage? Is this even my own baggage? Was this put on here? Was this placed on me by society?
Parents.
Was it placed on me by
friends.
adults when I was younger?
Anything.
It could be it could be anything.
Yeah.
Or am I putting it on myself? But then again, am I putting it on myself to just try and look like something to somebody else? So there's a lot.
That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that self-analysis that goes into it. And then there's folks that, for whatever reason, they aren't really aware. They have a gift of just kind of sifting through all that and just moving on. And that's a gift, I think. And I don't know if it's a lack of,
could be experience too,
I would waver to think that it would be more on experience and just the way certain things happen to certain people at certain ages and times.
Yeah. I mean, I went along for a long time, very sheltered and very just, doing art for, it's like a bubble. So literally lessons, school. And I was very lucky that I was encouraged to be in that place. And I had a very overprotective mother. She wanted me to develop. And, I came from a family where everybody was very successful in the art that they chose, and, and they were happy. That's the thing. So it was always about the happiness, the happy goal, right? So in a way, it's a bubble. But then I reached a time where that bubble kind of broke, because you have to let people at some point really in. And when you do that, everything changes, because now you've got emotions, you've got feelings for people, you've got, love, you've got, anger, aggression, jealousy. Everything happens when you start opening up. And I think ultimately that's where a lot of the hurt comes, and then the walls start, and whatever it is that are your upper limits, they start to become more apparent in that way that, like, you either self-sabotage something because you really, like, the fear just is there, or you have that feeling like you're given an opportunity and you see yourself constantly backing off. Those are two really big signs that you are self-sabotaging yourself and not even knowing it. A lot of people do it with money. They don't think they deserve to make a certain amount. They think they will always only be this. And so therefore they only ever are that or less. And that's a big thing that actually Tony Robbins is a big person. He's an advocate of, like, that mindset of breaking through and making sure that you feel that you deserve success. Otherwise you will never find it. It will never find you.
I think the self-sabotage thing is really interesting. People, I'm going to attempt to explain what I feel, how I feel about this, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Yes, you will. You'll do it.
You can I'm an INFJ, so bear with me. Like, I feel like that is something that's when you're seeing that pattern over and over again. Like, well, let me take it from let me take it from this angle. People do what they do. Like people just do what they
Right.
do. So if somebody isn't moving forward because they're stuck in this loop,
right,
that's happening for a reason. It's
sure.
It's not like there's.
It's not by accident.
Right. And the same thing can be said the other way around, where
Right.
if it's a positive movement forward or a positive momentum, that's happening for a reason. There's got to be some sort of willpower behind it. Now, whether it's from like I was saying earlier, whether it's from an event or like a crucial event in someone's development years, or it's just that's the way they're wired, and they're just like the Energizer bunny of positivity, and they have a proclivity towards that type of
it works.
Energy.
It works. I'm a very hyperactive person. So like literally, I never really think that I'm not going to learn something from trying. And I think what you really need to focus on is just try it.
Right. Right.
What difference does it make? Do you think people are paying that much attention? I mean, have you seen the average person scroll through Instagram lately? Literally, like you do it yourself, you do. So like, if you make a mistake, it's over. Literally, nobody but you is really going to be that closely paying attention. And if they are, God bless them. I mean, like, wow, that would be amazing to have people pay that much attention that when you don't show up, they actually care about it, because really they're just going to say, were you sick that day? Or, how's things going? Oh, good. Yeah. Move on. I mean, just don't be afraid. Just put yourself out there. You get an idea, develop it, try it. You know what I mean? Run it across some people, talk about it. You'd be surprised. Every single opportunity has come to me from just that game plan. Right. There is nothing that I am doing today that I thought I was going to set out to do. It was put in front of me. I liked it or I didn't like it. And I explored it a little further, not really with an expectation, but more of just an inquisitive mind. And then I was just, how do I feel about this? I like it. Let's keep going.
Yeah, disassociation of outcome and all those great tools.
Yeah, but at the same time, my makeup is very positive. If I get into a negative, I know myself enough to know how to get out of it. And it's that first 5 seconds. You know what I mean? First 5 seconds, you got to catch it. Like, oh, or you're just done for the day. You can really wipe yourself out too.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so totally true. And right? I was gonna bring up positivity because you've got the positive vibes for sure. And I had written down spirituality, positivity, adversity.
Yeah, it works.
Well, I was gonna get your opinion on those facets together and those elements together, because I have a hunch, and you don't have to go into detail if you don't want to, but I have a hunch that you obviously went through some things that shaped you into who you are today with just the incredible positive energy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we all do. We fight first. One of the biggest ones is facing the fact that at some point in time, you're going to lose the people that are the closest to you.
Right.
And that could happen like that. And it has almost happened to me for the last 10 years, almost every year. So literally, that is probably the one thing that is the big fear in most people's lives. If you have somebody that's really close to you, and I have 2 parents that are very, very close to me, and a lot of people that are very close to me that I've lost like that. Yeah. There one day, just gone the next. And you learn, and then you heal from the fight, the battle with yourself, but also the battle of realizing that one day it's just going to be you there. So what are these experiences that you're having with these people around you that you need to appreciate? And how are you taking care of yourself? Like, what is it that you have that is so interesting that it occupies your mind and makes your world better? Because if you don't have that and all of that is wrapped into someone else, then when you lose that person, or if you lose that person or that person changes, which they are allowed to do, you can't keep them in a box, then you have to still be able to take care of yourself. So I think that time has taught me that I can't be the little girl anymore hanging on to, my family and my parents and knowing that they'll always be there, because there's going to be a point in time that could happen anytime where I won't probably have that, because we don't always have it forever. So that's one thing, that really does make you think when you go through that life and death situation. The other thing is just loss in general. I mean, loss of people come into your life and you lose them. You lose them to different things. You lose them to other people. You lose them to drugs. You fight. I mean, if you've ever been involved with somebody who has had the demon of fighting drugs, literally, and I'm a very positive person, I really think that I can help somebody out of that every time. But you just are fighting, you're fighting a kind of pain inside of someone that there almost is no cure for. So you literally can't be an enabler, but you have to have enough in you to fight it with them, or you have to walk away entirely. Either way, there's a huge loss to the person that is going along the same journey as a person that's fighting drugs. You learn a lot from that experience. A lot. You learned so much about what people are capable of and also what they're not capable of. You start to open your eyes to the fact that you and I are so different people, even though we have similarities. And you have to learn to respect the person sitting in front of you, no matter what. No matter what color they are, no matter what their beliefs are. I don't care if they have different politics than you. That is not a life or death situation. That is not something that should enrage you so badly that you actually want to take another human life. You have to learn, if you want to exist in this world, that the pain that you experience, you could be dishing out to someone else. So therefore, if you want good karma coming back to you, you better see it like it really is and realize that if you have the power and freedom of speech, so does this other person sitting next to you. And you're going to have to be brave enough to listen to what they have to say, take it in, and just deal with it without being hurtful. Not too many people can do that. That's like the ultimate training in life, right?
I'm in the middle of it right now.
Are you really?
Oh yeah. Deep.
Really?
Real deep. It's good stuff.
It's
good stuff. I mean, I'm glad I'm hitting it in my 20s. Some people never hit it.
Do you want to talk about it? I'm sure people want to know.
Oh, there's nothing really to talk about. It's just basically everything you just said. Loss, people coming in and out of your life, successes, failures, and a lionized figure of what you thought you'd be doing by a certain age or whatever. And then realizing, oh, wait a minute. There's more to life than just accolades and achievements. You can't just live your life chasing the ball.
No,
that's
you're absolutely
suicidal. Right. So,
and what if that was put into your head by somebody who just wanted the best for you? Maybe it's not an idea that really was your own. It could have been something that was instilled in you because they had to, maybe your parents had to prepare you for life, or your grandparents had to prepare you for life, and they were just trying to do the best that they could.
Could be. Yeah. It could be anything. I think it comes down to, whenever you have somebody like yourself and me, we're very driven people.
Yeah.
There's always room for that to just turn into for it to just get out of control.
Yeah.
You can, another
Definitely.
thing that came up great on the podcast we had, I was actually editing it today. It's kind of funny how I have all these references for this. My original drum instructor from 22 years ago, Merritt Partridge, he always told me this one thing when I was studying with him, which was your a human being first, then a musician, then an instrumentalist or a singer, you know, whatever title.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky to have that instilled at a young age. And I think, and here, this is kind of far out there, so to take this with a grain of salt, this is just my opinion.
I really want to hear it. Yeah.
this is just, I mean, I'll just be honest with you. This is just my opinion. And it kind of goes, it's kind of like with the everything happens for a reason cliche, which I totally buy into because I'm seeing it happen all the time of like, oh, you know.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. You make it happen or it happens. It's just whatever's meant to be for you just comes your way.
Now, and this is, so I'm cool. This is cool that this is going full circle because I think this is going to help me try and explain what I was thinking of trying to explain earlier, what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Which I've thought about a lot, which is actually really easy to explain. I believe, I don't know where, you know, if it comes from God or from just energy, whatever you want to call it, whatever anybody's buying into, the self-sabotage is actually like if you're able to get through a certain wall and you see it as, oh, wait a minute, that whole construct was actually for the good. Like that whole construct was, okay, if this didn't happen, then I wouldn't have turned out to who I was. Or as an artist, I've seen things in my life where I just keep going, I'll pursue something, or maybe it was like unrequited love or whatever, you know, my teenage years. And it's like, why in the world did I keep chasing after this person? Why in the world did I keep going after this? And then in retrospect, when you look back and you go, well, damn, like that was like fuel to the fire of my creative. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have what I have today. And it's almost like there was this nature beyond myself. It was like this supernatural push towards certain things, whatever they were.
Yeah.
Certain mindsets, certain proclivities. And when you look back, it's like, well, did I really have a choice? You know what?
You didn't have a choice. Well, I mean, we all have a choice, right? But
I think you understand kind of what I'm saying here. You know,
you stayed in the moment. You stayed in the moment. You made the best choice that you could have made at the time with the information that you had. Hindsight is 20/20,
right.
But at the moment you were getting what it was that you needed, or the challenge was there that you wanted to face, and it was important to you. That's the part of the respect that I try to get people to realize. It's hard though. I think you just realize it with age, you know, like as you go through things, you realize that like, what are we fighting for? Why are we making ourselves miserable? You know, and you kind of like realize that you're still going to get caught up in things. If you're in a relationship, you're still going to get caught up. There's a winner and a loser in all of this, right? In every interaction, there's something. There's that spirit, that energy, that powerful, you know, thing that happens. Sometimes both people exit with it being a good experience. Sometimes they both exit with it not being so good. And sometimes you have no idea what they experienced, and you're like, "What? I didn't get that at all." You know, like okay. Right?
You have to just go in. You have to go in with the right frame. I mean, it's like the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like the same because I've been an actor. I grew up as a childhood actor, and I've obviously been in the acting business for a long time. And it's like the frame of the auditioning process and just like everything is just so intertwined. Everything. The parallels are ridiculous.
So in acting, you know how to get raw. Then you have to be really in touch with that emotion. You know, you have to bring it up. So you're used to it.
And everybody's different. I mean, there's certain, like I'm the guy in scenes where, you know, when I've got cry scenes, I remember we did this one indie a couple of years ago, and Yeah, or what? It was just an intense scene because I got shot and I died. Like my character was, some intense stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I'm just like cracking jokes in between takes
Oh, no.
and doing the whole thing. And some of the other folks on set, they had to go in another room. They had to like stay.
They got like irritated, right? Like,
they just
get me out of my zone.
Place.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's different.
Yes, they are.
So yes, but to say or to agree with what you just said, yeah, absolutely. It's, you got to go to those places, and again, you got to get out of the mindset of self-analyzing, and you have to just be.
Yes.
Like you just have to be. Like you have to sit there and go, okay, I cannot judge what's about to happen. I can't judge. You have to enable yourself to be there,
forgiving,
to just be there and not have an idea of what the outcome should be. Do your homework, but have.
I do. I agree with you. I think I agree with you because there's going to be a point in time, I think, in everyone's life where they're going to face something. And when they do, at that moment, they're going to have to give themselves a break. That's my dog. He's so funny. It's time. It's time. Game's on. It's like, it's time. He's ready to eat. He's like, get out here. Just.
we'll start. I mean, this is like this. Honestly, this went into like a whole different direction than what I was originally thinking. We went kind of deep here.
It's all good. It could be 2 episodes if you want.
Yeah. Well,
I really enjoyed it. I did it. I really enjoyed it. I give interviews all the time, and it's so few times that I take a moment just to like sit and hang out. Usually when we do these calls and stuff, I'm not doing it for an interview. I'm just like having a call and we have personal chats, but we can't like really like sit and talk about the value of life and the value of art and the value of getting through life and, and getting through your struggles. But this is good. It's very therapeutic. And I think a lot of people are going to find that, get that from there, it's going to help them too. Cause we talked a lot about, this is just
we may have to do another one. Cause I was like, I had a whole bunch of things here that just because I was going to try and cater this towards marketing and all the stuff that you talk.
I'll come back and we'll do marketing.
Yeah.
I know a lot about a lot of things because I've been through a lot of things. So just take that episode for what it is, let it inspire some people, and I'll come back and we'll do some marketing episodes for sure.
Before we let you go, I've got one quick thing I do at the end. I call it the shootout, and I say one word, and you just say a word back.
All right.
There's like 10 here.
I like that. All right, go ahead.
Fine art.
Oh, color.
Radio.
Do I have to have a word for it? Opportunity.
I mean, you can't argue with that. It's great. Music.
Creation.
Entrepreneurship.
Business. Learn it. Gotta learn it.
Marketing.
Creativity.
Singing.
Expression.
Social media.
Oh my God.
Color.
Black and white.
Oh, black and white was the next one. So
black and white see things differently, and sometimes it's nice to.
Canada.
Home.
You're from Canada, right?
I am, yeah.
Toronto?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I read that in the bio, but I was like, is she from Toronto or all right, last one. And it's the most important. Pizza.
Oh, love it.
This is the last question. We always ask everybody this. If you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
Ooh, boy, you know what? Stop your crying and don't complain because you have no idea what's ahead of you. You got it easy. Just go play with your Barbie dolls and just relax. This is an easy life right now.
Well, this has been great. That was just totally not what I expect. I wasn't really expecting anything. I've seen so much of your content, and I'm like, we're going to talk about publicity, marketing, businesses.
There's so much more. I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people want to know about marketing and publicity, but I think ultimately, I feel like a lot, like that gets the numbers, right? Like, so if you put out a blog post and a talk about marketing, you definitely can like siphon out the marketing stuff and put it out there as separate episodes for sure. And they'll get a lot of hits. Yeah. But the brand builder for you, the big brand builder, is the conversations, the digging deep and like not being afraid to reflect on that stuff. That's what people are going to listen to the longest. And that's what's going to give you the longevity.
Well, I think it's just a testament to your inner core and your value system, because you're approaching life and what you do and helping people with the perspective that you've kind of shared with us today. And if that's not tight, if that's not there, then you've got nothing. So maybe that's you like can't. You have to live it.
Yeah, you can't fake that way. There's no way you can fake that through.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on with us. And real quick, description box for you. We'll have everything down below on YouTube, and then Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Amazon, all those podcast platforms. We'll have it on the sides as well. But just one more time for the viewers audibly, if they're listening in their car, in the gym, or doing whatever they're doing, JacquelineJax.com. And then there's some other handles if you want to elaborate real quick on social media.
So on social media, you can find me at Jacqueline Jax for everything. And if you want specifically to look into the art, like on Facebook or Instagram, then Jacqueline Jax Artist.
So cool. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, you're welcome. I so enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. We'll let you attend to your pup.
Yeah.
You guys have been watching.
Tenant's terror. Yes.
You guys have been watching and listening to the Jason Damico Show. You've been hanging out with Jacqueline Jax here. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Definitely hit a subscribe button for her down below, or a follow button for her. And we will see you guys on the next one.
Bye, Jason. Thank you.